Hi, Mogan.
Hi, please come. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Subuhi. I'm thrilled to be sitting with Mogan Rodrigues, who is a Mumbai based tour guide, and he conducts walking tours of the East Indian enclave of Uttan as well as Dharavi Island. On these walking tours, he takes people around archaeological sites and also invites them into his home to get a taste of East Indian cuisine. For those of you who may not know, Uttan is a village in Mira Bhayandar municipality of the Mumbai metropolitan region. Thanks so much for having us, Morgan.
Thanks to
Thank
you.
you. So, Morgan, I was reading this newspaper article actually, and it spoke about your revival of the East Indian sari, which is also known as Lugra. Can you tell us really what is the meaning of Lugra, the word?
Lugra basically is Lugra, basically a Maharashtrian terminology for sari. It's just that instead of d, we pronounce it as r in our dialect. We have our own dialect. So that's how it becomes Lugra. So instead of Lugra. And
Right.
we are natives of uh, Mumbai or Bombay. So even we had our own version of Lugra.
Right,
Yeah.
of course. And so, there's also this whole discussion about how the lugra is sort of different from the navvari sari, which is worn by certain communities in Maharashtra. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
So, an East Indian Lugra is a version of Maharashtrian Lugra itself. It's not something very different, but the way it is worn, that is different a bit. Probably some of the native communities of Bombay have some similarities of wearing that kind of style, like maybe the Prabhus, the Pathare Prabhu community, because when the East Indian, our ancestors, when they were converted in 1600s from different communities, Pathare Prabhu was one of the communities here, and even some of them probably even got converted at that time. So there are traditions coming in from there as well. Well, there were different materials being used. For everyday usage, it was mainly cotton, just cotton lugra, which could be red, pinkish, oranges, a little bit, or green. So they had only two or three options. For special occasions, there were lugras made of silk, pure silk, silk and cotton as well. There was another variety of lugra which is extinct now, which was called zaritsa lugra,
Okay.
which you which no one makes it anymore. When we were doing this revival project and we were collecting, we did come across a couple of pieces, vintage pieces, where they actually had zari on the lugra, which was gold and silver, and we were just fortunate to find it and see it how it looked, because all this time, I had only heard of Zari's Lugra, but I had never seen it. So I got to see how it is. So there was Zari's Lugra, and then there was Sonkari Lugra. Sonkari Lugra is what we revived, which is a mix of silk and cotton or silk. These kind of lugras, like Zari's Lugra or Sonkari, were expensive even at that time, and not probably everyone could afford it. So the more affluent could have Zari Lugra, they could afford that. Lengthwise, what we came across was most of them were 8 or 8.5 yards, Atwari or Nauvari. But in recent times, there has been change in the length of the Lugra, and now most of them are 10 yards or Dhavari or Akravari. That is probably keeping in mind the ladies are getting healthy probably, and they need more length. So that's the reason, because all the old versions that we came across were either nothing above 9 yards.
So the difference between Sonkari lugra and Zaritsa lugra was?
The very word "son" is sona, that is gold, and the sheen it had a kind of a sheen, golden sheen, and it was silk. It was worn on special occasions. It was part of the whole wedding tradition. Probably when the bride went to the church wearing it, when wearing gowns was still not accepted, and East Indian brides were still wearing lugras to go to church for their weddings. So you would wear sonkari lugra or zaritsa lugra. That is one. Secondly, we have something called Sara. Sara is something that comes from the husband's side on the wedding day.
Okay.
These are all the presents, gifts, and things that are given to the bride on the wedding day. So, Sonkari Lugra or Zarisa Lugra could be part of that whole tradition, which has now been replaced by a sari. Yeah.
Okay. And I also wanted to ask you about sort of the pattern and the border that one sees on the lugra. So the body of the lugra, as you've shown us, has checks,
Yeah.
right? And then there is, of course, the border. I mean, is there something you wanted to share with us in terms of maybe how that developed or the different kind of patterns even that exist in the border, for example?
The general pattern, all the checkered, the fine checks, is more sort of a Maharashtrian thing. But they were not always made in Maharashtra. It's more sort of North Karnataka side from where it comes.
I see.
Even though they were also made in some parts in Mumbai, they were manufactured here earlier because there was a great demand. You have a big community thriving and wearing lugras. So there were places like Mahim, one of the centers where they were actually manufactured.
Wow.
Uh, there is still a shop in Mahim that sells East Indian lugras. I was talking to a very elderly woman, more than 90 years now, 90 years, and she remembers seeing those textile being manufactured in Mahim.
So there was a mill there.
Yes, which probably died out for various reasons, like you had textile mills in Bombay coming up, or lesser and lesser women wearing lugras. So the business died out slowly. So they just stopped making it. So the borders are very specific to the East Indians or the ilkal kind of a style. So they have different names in how they are described. So some people call it komrichi naka. Nak is the nail. So the how do you call it, the panja of
Yes, yes, the
the
claw.
chicken, yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
claw,
correct.
yeah. So it has, and that is nearly extinct, that design.
Acha.
Then sapachi kos,
Okay.
snake
Sapachikos
kos
was.
is snake skin. It is textured
I
like
see.
snake skin.
Okay.
So they had different names for the designs. Yeah.
Beautiful, yeah. And you're also wearing an adaptation of a lugra, right?
Yes, this is kind of lugra being reinvented. In this past 15, 20 years, you can see there is a great amount of nostalgia within the community that we have lost a lot in terms of culture, language, what we wore. So people now want to go back to their roots and revive it, or organize events where you can showcase your culture.
Right.
And women are in the forefront because they always have something to display relating to culture, whereas men, they don't have anything sometimes, or they had and they have moved away from it, and it is such a long time that they have forgot, it is erased from the collective memory of the community as to what men wore. So what we adapted to started wearing these kurtas or shirts made with lugra material.
I mean, tell me really, what is it that inspired you to want to do this?
Well, I was always interested in history, but the revival thing happened because I saw that the lugra patterns are being changed. The traditional ones are being distorted. And I got this piece here. I wanted to show this is what it is now. It's a
Acha.
complete disaster from my point of view. So you have these flowers, which was a complete no. You if you see the sonkari, there are no flowers, nothing.
Right.
You look at these borders with flowers. It's a distortion.
And also this, acha, so it's part of the same cloth, but this
Yeah.
seems to be machine
So,
woven.
this design is traditional. This is sapachikos or the snake skin. But what they have done is adding these flowers.
Oh, I see.
So when I started looking at these kind of lugras, I thought someone needs to educate people that what is the authentic style. And then I thought of the sonkari thing because that was I was always fascinated. My grandmother had a piece from 1941, and she was keeping it. I mean, she kept it properly, so I could use it. I saw this very different than what the women are wearing. Um, I was wondering how we can bring it back in the market. While I was thinking, fortunately, I came across Savita Suri, who is a textile expert, and she was on one of my walks.
I see.
And that's how I got to know her. And then I thought, how about reviving this? And so we got together. I asked her, is it possible to revive this? Can we make it again? She said, yes, it is totally possible because she was part of another project reviving the Goan Kundi sari. So I thought, okay, then she's the right person. So that's how we started collecting all the lugras. And we got people from this sector who knew about it, knowledgeable, and we manufactured it and we brought some pieces in the market.
And which weavers did you work with actually?
We had weavers in Karnataka actually, and there was another person involved. She's from Goa, uh, Suvarna Gauri, and she's also a textile expert who did all the logistics of finding proper weavers who knew these designs.
So I also understand that in terms of the colors themselves, like East Indian women will wear lugras of a particular color also during a particular phase of their life.
Phase in the sense there are two colors which they wore throughout their lives, red and green, and when the husband would die, then it was switched to blue or dark navy blue, sort of that. So there were like three colors, and if it has been long time that the husband is dead, then she will slowly switch on to purplish color
Of course,
before
yeah.
marriage.
And at what time did
Spinsters.
we see a transition, from the wearing of the lugra to sort of more Western style dress among East Indian women?
There is no uniform pattern. It all depends uh, as to how close you were with the British. So mostly East Indians living in the city, they were the first ones who adopted British lifestyle or mannerisms, language, a little bit of food and clothing. The men were the first to adopt,
Right.
so that it's very difficult to give a specific date, but because the oldest pictures, men still wearing suit are still more than 100 years old,
I
late
see.
1900s.
Right, essentially.
And the women probably transition must have happened a bit late. When you come to this side though, a lot of women were still wearing lugra. Like my mother, she is married for like 46, 47 years. But she never wore a lugra when she got married.
Oh,
So it's long time now. And for her marriage, she was wearing a gown already.
I
So
see.
the transition had taken place more than 50 years ago.
So maybe we can just briefly go over the various occasions on which East Indian women today wear lugra.
It's mostly festivities, weddings definitely, but not generally on the wedding day. So those who want to wear a lugra, they will do a theme on Umraza Pani, which is a day before the wedding. So you see a lot of women suddenly wearing lugra. So that's one occasion. Then next day of the wedding is another occasion. They wear it. Agera is another big festival, a paddy feast. You will see a lot of Eastern women wearing it. Then some social cultural events,
Okay.
which is becoming pretty common in the East Indian Gautans of Mumbai nowadays. Like before the Lent season, we have Itros,
Right.
so there is food and drink, and at that time they wear it. That's another occasion. The church feast is a big event in every village. So that time they would wear it for special occasions or for a procession.
Ah, yes.
They want the procession to look nice and showcase their culture. So that's another occasion where they wear it.
And I mean, looking forward, like looking into the future, what is also your hope, both for the Lugra as well as for other kinds of maybe textile revival you may want to do?
I'm very optimistic about this because people are going back to their roots. Though practically it may not be possible to wear lugras and go to work. So we don't expect that. But there are occasions when you want to showcase and people are happy to do it and they're
Right.
very welcoming and they are very happy that that you can see that when they wear, especially women. Unfortunately, men. I wish men could have something specific to them, but I can see the joy on their faces when they wear a lugra. So that is where that's optimism. Like, yeah, there is a future and this will continue, even if it's not practically possible, but there are occasions when they will wear it. Yeah, so it will not die out.
Right. And I wish you all the best in
Yeah.
all your future revival
Yeah.
projects related to the
Yeah.
Lugra. Thanks a
Thank you
lot.
so much. So here we have three ladies who are part of this whole exercise of draping an East Indian lugra. We have two specialists here because, well, she's my wife, Sharon Rodrigues. She's a model for today. And here we have Mari D'Souza, who is very well versed in wearing a lugra because she's still wearing it on a daily basis. Along with her to help her, we have Priska D'Souza. She has learned it from her mother all these years. So her mother used to wear lugra, so she has seen her wearing it and helping her. So they both are very well versed and they both are going to coordinate and dress my wife with this lugra, which is a Sonkari lugra, which was made, which is a replica of the original piece that I had of my grandmother from 1941. So we made this piece from that original one. So this is a revived one. So the first step is the kamar band. So that's because unlike the sari, there is no underskirt for a lugra. Because the sari has an underskirt, so the sari is tucked in, so it holds the sari. Whereas for the lugra, there is no underskirt, so that is why you need something to hold, and that is a kamarban. So that is what is being done now. So that has to be tightly done because lugra can be heavy, it's 9 yards. So it has to hold the weight of the fabric. Right. So they take one of the ends of the lugra, which they call kamretsa padar. So the lugra just has two padar, unlike the sari which has only one pallu. So the lugra has on both the sides. So you can do either way, as you can see. This one and the other one is here. So there are two pallus actually. You can do either way.
साडीला बी पदर दोन असतात पण ते एक ब्लाउजला कापिताना घालतात असं हे जरा उंच पकडायचं असं
So that is bit slanting, that part. Yeah, so that will go on the shoulders. And the remaining then gets draped in the front with the pleats and then the casta at the back. So because it goes from behind like this and then tucked here. So you get this. Yeah. Now the pleats in the front. So they generally try to take about 7 pleats in the front because they need to take another set of pleats for the casta at the back. So the casta comes from between the legs. She's making the casta now and the border has to come properly. You first do the pleats in the front as well, and then do the casta. Yeah, after the casta, then they will adjust the pleats in the front.
The draping is a pretty complicated business.
Yes, you can imagine ladies doing it all by themselves every day. They try to take smaller pleats so that you get more gathers and it looks beautiful. नाही बरं आहे बरोबर नेसलंय मस्त आहे लय. So here we have the anklets as well. These are not very traditional, but this is what we have now because the traditional ones are not available anywhere actually. Hello?
दे पोत घाल आता पाय मला वाकायचं लागेल.
So she wears this when she goes to church generally, and after the wedding, the groom's party comes with the sara, which is this, and the gold. Yeah. There was no concept of Mangal Sutra, and we didn't have that earlier. It's called pot.
Okay. And the shorter one is called?
Fugdor. That's a necklace. Fugdor is the old terminology. Especially, I want to tell you about this blouse. Now, if you see a lot of East Indian women who wear lugras for certain occasions, they don't wear these kind of blouses. They are wearing more sort of a sari blouse because they don't make special blouses for lugras. If you see an East Indian lugra, it does not have flowers. It's pretty plain. So, where will the flowers be? So that was compensated in having floral blouses. And these green bangles, they denote that she's married because this is the color the East Indians wear. Only the East Indians wear this kind of color. Yeah, these designs are very different and typical of East Indians. They're a bit floral, kind of. This is called a pan, and when they go to church, they used to cover their head, so like a wheel, or what they call the wool. And after the mass is over, they used to bring it down. Some women used to take it when they're going for wedding invitations, things like that, formal occasions. Yes. So, Mari auntie, thank you, आणि प्रिस्का auntie, thank you तुम्ही आल्याबद्दल टाइम काढलं तुम्ही.
तसं काही नाही, आम्ही हेल्प करतो सगळ्यांना. असं कोणाची बी लगीन असलं ते पोहायच्या मुली मुली लग्नाला मजेसाठी अशा नेसतात ना, मग आम्ही दोघी जणी हेल्प करतो काही पण.
Lugra घालायला.
During weddings, there are young girls who want to drape lugra, so they go to them. There are very few in our locality, in this neighborhood. There are very few actually who can drape it well. So these two are always there to help. They are farmers, both of them. तुमचं वराड केव्हा झालं?
70 सालान माझं वराड झालं. 71चा सण आहे ना, 71 पांचर.
मग तवाशी तुम्ही लुगरं घालता?
तवाशीच घालतं.
ओके, मग त्या टायमाला तुम्हाला येतो तो लुगरा नेसता?
थोडं थोडं येतं, तर मग असं वाकडं तिकडं करता ते येऊ लागलं परत.
कोणी शिकविलं तुम्हाला?
कोणीच नाही, माझी माईची मेरी शिकलो.
वराडाचे पुरं बिफोर वेडिंग म्हणजे. ओके,
माझी माई मदर.
प्रिस्का आंटी, तुम्ही काय शिकल्यास लुगरा नेस?
तिची माईच बी जावाची ना, आणि ते नेसायला आम्ही पहिला जावाचो. तीच ना मी जावाचो. आता कोण मेलच बायकांना, त्यांना बी लुगरी नेसायला वराला, रोजबाईला वराला येईल, मग मानावारील ना आम्ही दोघी जावाचो.
And that was quite challenging because
माझा पाय दुखते ते मी
I mean, yeah,
जाईने जास्ती पाय दुखते ते.
because the person is not standing and she is dead, and then you have to drape a lugra to a dead body. So they were doing this. Also, they don't charge anything. Because if you go towards the city, there are some women who are called to drape the lugras and they charge. So they give the lugras on rent. They also give other things like the anklets, and then they charge for everything. But these two women, they don't. It's kind of a community service. It helps the draping survive.
तो जेव्हा तुम्ही शेती करत होते त्यावेळी कसे तुम्ही घालत होते लुगडा आणि शेती पण करत होते?
ते सांगितलं ना, असं बांधायचं वरती.
दाखवा ना एक.
हो, पाय दुखते ना. हे असं आता हे लुगडं आहे ना, काय नाही, त्याला ते असं करायचं असं करायचं, असं वर करायचं, असं असं बांधायचं आणि त्याला प्लास्टिक बांधायचं आणि वरून दुसरं प्लास्टिक घ्यायचं. ते थोडं तरी भिजते, पण ते असं काम करायला कंटाळा नाही येत. हां,
तर हे
शेतामध्ये
तुम्ही- हा चावलची शेती करत
हां,
होते.
हां.
म्हणजे तुम्ही वेगळे लोक
लावायला जावायची का याला बेनायला जावायची, असं शेतामध्ये सगळं काम करायची पहिला पावसाळीला.
बसा.
ते तुमचे घरामध्ये बीज कोण आता घाली नाही लुगरा?
नाही नाही, कोण
कोणीच
नाही आपले, ते कोण आहे आता
हा.
त्याचा
So there
लुगरी
is no one
नेसतात.
else wearing the lugra in their family. She has
नाही.
2 daughter-in-laws, but
आता कोण नाही. आता या समज आपल्या एल&टी फॅमिली आपली सगळी ती मेली, मेली. आता कोण आहे ती गोरायला किलो अँटी आहे ती नेसते.
Yeah.
नाही किलो अँटी बी आता
she's
शिक जायला
literally
नेसते.
counting women who are
हा,
actually
रीता बी
wearing.
नाही.
So
हा.
she is just pointing out, okay, she's wearing
मल्यावर
this.
आता कोण नाही, खाली मीच आहे.
Yeah, she's the only one in this neighborhood actually now.
कशाला तुम्ही आता पर्यंत लुगडा घालताय?
हे म्हणजे असं आहे, मी आता तसं मला मुलं बोलतात घालू नको, अख्खा दिवस नाईटीशीच असते मी, पण मी भाजी विकायला जाते ना, मग मला ते नाईटीशी जमत नाही, मग मी लुगरं नेसून जाते. आपले पाय चालतात तिथपर्यंत जायचं, असं माझं बोलणं.
कशाला तुमचे पोरं बोलतात की नाही घाला असं?
म्हणजे ती सांगतात कशाला लुगडं नेसते, नाईटी घाल नाही, ते फ्रॉक घालून जा, पण फ्रॉक घालायला मला लाज वाटते.
So even within the East Indians, there are say maybe Kunbis or Bhandaris,
Yeah.
or, different sort of caste groups who converted to Christianity from Hinduism. So in terms of Mehri Tai sari, what style is the sari?
This is more sort of Kulbi.
Lugra, sorry.
Kulbi.
This is a
We say
Kulbi.
Kulbi actually. In Shuddha Marathi it is Kunbi, but we say Kulbi. So this is Kulbi style generally, which we call Uba Lugra. Then there is the Koli style, Arva. Arva is horizontal and Uba is vertical. It is Uba mainly because of the pleats. Yeah, Mirya Uba etan, Uba etan. The pleats are, you can see prominently. When you say Arva horizontal, you don't see the pleat. There are no pleats basically. You have some pleats at the side, but it's not very prominent or significant. And then there is another type which you see very rarely. The Bhandaris wear it, which is pretty short. गोराय घालतात बघा, आवार बी घालतात, चिंबय, काय बोलतात त्याला, काहीतरी एक सबत आहे, मला माहित नाही. They wear it in some in Gorai.
Okay.
And also I've seen it in Chimbai.
त्या थोयच्या
in
जास्ती नाही,
Bandra.
थोड्याच बायका.
So there are
बँड्राची महिला जास्ती पहिल्या नेसायच्या त्या बायका.
हा.
ताई, तुमच्या टायमासाठी खूप खूप धन्यवाद. खूप चांगलं वाटलं तुमच्याशी बोलायला. And thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.